Today we're talking about the Shakespeare play that puts the fairy in fairy tale, A Midsummer Night's Dream. One of Shakespeare's few comedies that is still really hilarious. The play basically has three groups of people with three different storylines that we follow and that intersect. This takes place in ancient Greece. So in Athens, we've got Theseus and Hippolyta. She's the queen of the Amazons. He's the Duke of Athens. And they're getting married in 4 days. Previously, they were enemies and now they're lovers. And he has this great line where he says he wooed her with his sword. This one dude named Aegeus comes to Theseus because he's like, I want my daughter Hermia to marry this dude Demetrius, but she doesn't want to. She wants to marry this other dude Lysander. Hermia and Lysander make their case about why they should be allowed to be married, but Theseus sides with Aegeus and says, he's your dad, he gets to pick who you marry. And you find out during that scene that Demetrius has kind of messed around with this girl named Helena who's friends with Hermia, and she's super in love with him now, but he doesn't want her, he wants Hermia. So again, Theseus basically says, Hermia, you gotta marry Demetrius or you are going to die or have to be a nun the rest of your life. So she and Lysander, once they're alone, plan to run away, and they have the famous line, the course of true love never did run smooth. Then they meet Helena, the girl who's obsessed with Demetrius, and she's all sad and upset. They tell her their plan to run away, and after they're gone, she thinks, if I tell Demetrius, that might make him like me, or at least I'll get to walk with him into the forest after Hermia and spend some time with him. So that's going to be how these four human lovers, Demetrius, Helena, Hermia, and Lysander, are going to end up in the forest. The next group are the mechanicals. They're kind of working class people who are amateur actors, and they were putting together a play hoping that it will be chosen as the entertainment for the Duke's wedding. They have cute little names like Flute, Snout, and Snug, and Nick Bottom is kind of their leader because he is hilarious. He's really terrible, but he thinks he's wonderful. He wants to play every part in the play, and he's constantly mixing up words and making hilarious puns because he doesn't know what he's saying because he's not very bright. They decide that night they're gonna go practice out in the woods, so that's how they're gonna end up in the woods. In the woods already, we've got our fairy characters. Oberon, who's the king of the fairies, Titania, who's the queen of the fairies, and they're fighting. They have kind of a fairy pagan marriage in that they're together, but they sleep with other people. That's just how it goes. They're fighting over a changeling, a little Indian boy. Titania was friends with his mom and wants to raise him as her own, and Oberon wants him to grow up with him and be his knight. That's literally what they're having this epic fight about that's like causing plagues and disaster. Well, Titania has the child and she's like, dude, I'm not giving him to you. Go away. So Oberon goes away with his fairy Puck. Robin Goodfellow, or Puck, is his sort of little errand boy. And he's like, all right, Puck, here's how I'm gonna get this baby from Titania. I want you to get this flower that will make her fall in love with whoever she sees when she wakes up after you put the juice on her eyes. I want to make her fall in love with something hideous. And then she'll be so obsessed with the hideous thing, she'll give me the child. So Puck goes to get the flower, Titania falls asleep, and then those four human lovers come into the forest. Hermia and Lysander are like, we need to sleep here for the night. And Lysander's like, let me sleep next to you. And she's like, not yet. They sleep apart. Helena also comes into the forest following Demetrius, who's looking for Hermia, and she's just letting her thirst be known. She's like, please love me, treat me like a dog, kick me like a spaniel. He even seems to threaten her sexually. He's like, you shouldn't be out in the woods with someone who doesn't love you. She's like, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. And he's like, oh my God, no. So Oberon sees all of this and he feels bad for Helena. So when Puck comes back with the flower, he's like, hey, Puck, there's this Athenian man. I want you to make him love this woman who's like pathetically in love with him so they can be happy. Well, Puck comes across Hermia and Lysander sleeping apart and thinks they're the couple he's talking about. He puts the juice in Lysander's eyes, and when he wakes up, he sees Helena and is like, oh my God, I love you, Helena. And Helena thinks she's just making fun of him, so she's like, ew, and she runs away, he runs after her. Then Hermia wakes up and she's all alone, her man is gone, and she's like, okay, so she goes looking for him. So basically both dudes who originally loved Hermia now love Helena, who thinks everyone's making fun of her. Hermia gets mad at Helena for stealing her man. They all have this big knockdown, drag out fight. Until eventually they all fall asleep and Oberon has Puck put an antidote in Lysander's eyes but keep the potion in Demetrius's eyes. Meanwhile, all of the actors have come to practice in the forest and Puck thinks Nick Bottom, is an ass. And his name is Nick Bottom, get it? So he transforms his head into an ass's head. Then Titania wakes up and falls in love with him, and Oberon and Puck love this. This is exactly what they wanted. She falls totally in love with Bottom with a donkey head. Bottom doesn't even know he has a donkey head, and he's like, oh my God, this queen of the forest is in love with me. I'm down. They spend the night together. It's heavily implied they have sex. Oberon gets what he wants. He takes the changeling boy, and then in the morning he frees her eyes, and she's like, oh my God, what did I sleep with? But she just totally forgives him and she's like, you just tell me what happened tonight. I don't even know. I'm just glad this is over. Puck changes him back without the donkey head and he wakes up and he's like, oh, I had the weirdest dream. He decides to go back to town and tell all his friends about his crazy dream because they all ran away when he had the donkey head because it scared them. Theseus and Hippolyta are out in the woods hunting and they come across the 4 sleeping lovers. They wake up and suddenly Demetrius is like, you know, actually, I don't want Hermia. I do want Helena. I kind of feel like I always should have been with her. And this just makes Theseus change his mind. He's like, all right, Hermia and Lysander, you can be together. Helena and Demetrius, you can be together. And hey, let's have a triple wedding. You guys get married with us, let's go do it. At the wedding, Bottom and his friends perform for them the play that they've put together, which is a version of Pyramus and Thisbe, which is the Greek version of Romeo and Juliet, basically. One of the many places Shakespeare got that information from. But they're so bad at it, it's funny. And afterwards, the Duke's like, good job, guys, at least you were entertaining. So the mechanicals, the actors, they're all happy too. Then everyone goes to bed with their right partner, happy and in love, ready to, have their wedding night. And Oberon and Titania come out and they bless the house with love and fertility. Puck closes the story by talking to the audience and saying, hey guys, if you were offended by anything in this story, just think of it as a dream. Maybe it wasn't even real. And clap for me if you enjoyed it. Goodbye. It's one of the greatest closings of a play ever. A big theme in this play is how deceiving our eyes are and how love changes our perception of things. How sometimes it can really be ridiculous. Helena says, winged Cupid is painted blind because love blinds us. Interestingly, it's called A Midsummer Night's Dream in the sense of the summer solstice, midsummer, but at the same time there's lots of references to May Day and the beginning of May in the play. Also at the beginning, Theseus says that he and Hippolyta are getting married in 4 days, but they end up getting married the day after the next day. So there's some timeline wonkiness, but there's so many great movie versions of this. A really fun one from the late 90s with Kevin Kline and Christian Bale as Demetrius in it. There's a wild version from 1968 where Dame Judi Dench plays Titania and she's naked and painted entirely green the whole time. And where the bottom donkey head is just terrifying. In 2019, the West End did a version where the fairies were all doing Cirque du Soleil stuff and the audience was immersed in it. They also swapped Titania and Oberon's parts so that Oberon fell in love with Bottom with the donkey ears. I was actually in this play in college. I played Helena and it was so much fun. The slapstick fighting between the 4 lovers is still so funny today. I also directed it last year in the high school that I teach at, and there's a lot of parts where the fairies sing, and so I put in Fleetwood Mac songs.
You can be my silver springs. It's only right that you should play the way you feel. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing.
Check out my book, Dust Spells, which is a reimagining of the 12 dancing princesses, and my podcast, Folktales and Fairy Lore. Link is in the bio.